So let's have a look at the next question, which is question 7 of mock 5 paper 2. So in this case, there's harbor X, the depth in harbor X, the depth of the water H meter at time T hours after midnight. So H represents the meters, the depth of the water, and T represents the hours after midnight. Is modeled as the following. So from there, so we need to calculate the value of A, B, and C. That's what they're telling us, where A, B, and C are constant. So they give us some information in order to do it. So let's try to go through that information and what does that mean for us. So the T represents the hours after midnight. So at midnight exactly, our T will be equal to 0, and our height of the water is going to be equal to 8.9 meters. At 6 a.m., our T is equal to 6, and our water height is equal to 4.1 meters. And at 9 o'clock, where T is equal to 9, our water height is equal to 3.3. So in this case, they're telling us to find the complete equation for the model in this case here. So now let's try to substitute them in. So if you substitute in the first one here, so that would be 8.9 is equivalent to A. So I know if I substitute T equal to 0 in sine of 0 gives us 0. So the B cancel out, and and T of 0 gives us cos of 0 becomes 1. So that will be A plus C is equal to 8.9. And then from there, we can substitute the other values as well. And if you substitute the other values, just by substituting the value of T into it, and then making sure that you're doing in radians because we have pi, and that will give us the value. So if you replicate this similarly for the other value, for 4.1 meters, you still have the value of A, doesn't go away. And then in this case here, if you substitute in T is equal to 6 there, so that will be plus B, and that will become 6 pi over 6 plus C cos 6 pi over 6. So this one here, the following will simplify. This one simplifies down to 4.1 is equivalent to A, and then because sine of 6 pi over 6 cancel out to be 0, and cos of 6 pi over 6 is minus 1, so it will be 4.1 is equal to A minus C. So you go 8.9 is equal to A plus C, then you go 4.1 is equal to A minus C. And then the last equation that you need to create is using the last value. Maybe let's do it in a different color. So that will be equivalent to 3.3 is equivalent to my A still stays there, and now my T is equal to 9. So that was going to be equal to plus B 9 pi over 6. I keep forgetting the sign. So that'll be B times sine 9 pi over 6 plus C cos of 9 pi over 6. Again, if I'll let you do that, put sine 9 pi over 6 and cos 9 pi over 6 in the calculator. So that gives us 3.3 is equivalent to A, and sine of 9 pi over 6 gives us minus 1, so it'll be minus B, and cos 9 pi over 6 gives us 0, so therefore times by C gives us, that goes away. So we have 3 equations now. So you can use your calculator to do it and to try to find the values, or we can simply manually do it in this case here. So in this case, what we can do is combine these 2 equations here. So if you combine these 2 equations, what does that give us? So if you add them together, you do 8.9 plus 4.1, so that would be 13 is equal to A plus A gives us 2A, and plus C minus the value in this case here, minus C goes away. So I can find my first value of A is equal to 13 over 2. So that's my value for A, just by combining the equation. And very similarly, I will let you do how to find B and how to find C just by substituting into the equation. And if you do that, you should get the value of B is equal to 3.2, and the value of C as 2.4. just because the most hardest part was to find the value of a, and thus you can combine these two equations, add them together, and that gives you the value of a. And then once you know the value of a, you can substitute this equation 2 and equation 3, substitute the value of a and rearrange it for b and c. A is equal to 13 over 2, which is also equal to 6.5. So therefore, you can rewrite this first, the final equation here, you can rewrite this as h is equal to 6.5 plus our b, which is 3.2 sine pi t over 6 plus 2.4 of cos pi t over 6. And it's a bit messy, but I wanted to do it at the top here so everybody can see it when I move on to part B. So that is the answer for the first part. So moving on to the next part. The next part of the question is telling us, in this case, how this equation here can be rewritten into this format here. So in this case here, we simply need to focus on two things, on this part here and this part here, because 6.8 stays there, that's constant. So this is why we need to expand the format that they give us, and then we can just find the derivation of that from there. So for part B, in this case here, that would be equivalent to r bracket, and if you expand this bracket using the additional formula, which is given to you in the formula booklet, so that gives us sine pi t over 6 sine alpha plus cos pi t over 6, and that would be cos alpha. So if you then expand the r, so therefore that becomes r sine pi t over 6 sine alpha plus r cos pi t over 6 cos alpha. So that's the expansion that you get from there. So now we can compare that with the equation that we have from above, and that becomes 3 sine pi over pi t over 6 plus 2 cos pi t over 6. So if you divide them one by the other, so that will allow us to compare the you can equate the components in this case here actually. So if you compare the components, so what we get from those components, so essentially we can rewrite this as the following. So if you compare the first part, let's highlight this part here, and then you can compare the other part, which is the cos part. So in this case, the sine pi t over 6 and sine pi t over 6 cancel each other out. So from that, you're left with r sine alpha is equal to 3. And for the cos section, that will be r cos alpha is equivalent to 2, because you cancel out those values when you compare it. So essentially from there, now in this case, we can simply divide them. So r sine alpha divided by r cos alpha is equal to 3 over 2. So the r and r cancel each other out. So that gives us tan alpha is equal to 3 over 2. And from there, we can find the value of alpha by doing tan minus 1 of 3 over 2. And that gives us the value of 0.588. And to find the value of our r in this case here, that's simply by squaring the values. So if you combine them together, and you square them, so that becomes r sine theta, sine alpha in this case, all squared, plus r cos alpha all squared is equal to the square root of that. So the square of that, 3 squared plus 2 squared. Essentially from there, what we can do, so that becomes r sine alpha squared, r squared sine squared alpha plus r squared cos squared alpha is equivalent to 9 plus 4. Factorize the r squared out, that leaves us with sine squared alpha plus cos squared alpha is equal to 13. So from there, we know that sine squared plus cos squared gives us 1. So therefore, that gives us 1. So that'll be r squared is equal to 13. So r simply going to be equal to square root of 13. I know this is a much longer way to do it, but I wanted to show you all the steps that you can take it in order to do it, just in case you forget it. So now you have your value of alpha and your value of r. Therefore, we can rewrite the equation as the following, which is 6.8, which we started from, plus r, which is root 13, not plus, but multiplied by sine pi t over 6 plus 0.588, and that would be your final answer for that part there in this case. So the next part of the question is telling us using your answer for part B. So in fact, let me just rewrite the equation here, so then we can have a look, carry on from here. So in this case here, for this part, we got t is equal to 6.8 plus root 13 sine pi t over 6 plus 0.588. So part CI is telling us deduce the minimum depth of the water. So the minimum depth of the water, if you think about this, is we have a sine function. In a sine graph, this is how the graph goes, and the graph usually is from 1 to minus 1. So in this case, the minimum happens when this is a minus 1. So if the whole thing here can be minus 1, so if this becomes the minus 1, so the minimum depth of the water simply becomes equivalent to as 6.8 plus root 13 multiplied by negative 1, and therefore if you put this in a calculator, that gives us an answer of 3.19. Again, the reason I multiply by minus 1 is because the sine graph at the minimum point when it happens is at minus 1. So that whole part of the sine graph becomes equal to minus 1, and therefore you get the answer from there. Very similarly, the next one, find the earliest time after midnight when the minimum depth occurs. So in this case, what we need to find the value of t when the minimum depth occurs. So again, we're looking at the sine function in this case. The minimum occurs for sine when at this point here, when it's a minus 1, and therefore the value of your x there is 3 pi over 2. So if we know that's the case, then we can equate the sine part to that, the inside of the sine part to that. So in this case, for this part, that becomes pi t over 6 plus 0.588 is equivalent to the 3 pi over 2. And then from there, if you rearrange to find the value of t, I will let you do that. That gives us the value of t as 7.877. And therefore, you need to convert this into hours. So therefore, t represents the hours after midnight. So that will be 7 o'clock. And then you have to convert the minutes to hours by multiplying it by 60. So therefore, we do 0.877 times 60. That gives us an answer of 53 minutes, rounded up. So therefore, the time after midnight when the minimum depth occurs will be at 7 o'clock 53 minutes a.m. and that would be the answer for your II. So again, hopefully that all makes sense. So the reason what we did here is we're trying to find when the value of x when the minimum occurs, and then we have to equate that to when that happens and find the value of t by rearranging it, which I'm trusting you can do, and then you multiply by 60 to the decimal part to convert the minutes into hours. So therefore that would be 7 hours 53 a.m. Part D, explain how the equation of the model from the harbor Y could be refined to reflect this change. I misread. I didn't read the previous part. So it said the harbor Y is changed to reduce the variation in the depth of the water. Explain how the equation of the model could be refined to make this change. Essentially, in this case here, we can say that we can change the coefficient that we have in front of the sine graph. Therefore, that will reduce the maximum and the minimum. So let's write that down here. So part D, which will be reduce the coefficient. So in this case, that would be root 13. So if you, the coefficient here would be root 13. So if you reduce that with the value, then the overall value for D will decrease. And yeah, essentially that's something that we can do here. Okay. hopefully you find this question useful. Again, there's lots of parts, so any part is not clear, do let me know in the comment down below, and I will try my best to explain it. And let me know if there are any future topic that you would like me to do, or anything else, any questions, let me know down below. Thank you.